For launch. GC. Go. Guidance. Go. Fido. Go. Prop. Go. GNC. Go. Max. Go. Eagle. Go. Ecom.
Go pending final steps to cabin link check.
3, 2, 1.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us? Can you give us a sign?
Welcome to the R.I.F.T Nation Network, the RNN, putting a slide in your glide and a dip in your hip. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe. With shows throughout the week, you can find us at Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Everything you could want, everything you can need right here, right now. From the paranormal to the supernatural. From comedy to the spiritual. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
It's showtime, folks!
Podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the R.I.F Nation Network and Mysteries Beyond the Scenes. Whoops. We are streaming live tonight on the R.I.F Nation Network and streaming live on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and what did I forget? YouTube, Facebook, Rumble. I think that's it. And Twitch. Oh, we also are podcasting on Spotify, Apple, Google. So that's wonderful. I'm so glad we are podcasting again. I'm so excited. Welcome, you guys. Welcome to another Wednesday night on Mysteries Beyond the Scene, where my name is Joni Skinner. I'm a forensic astrologer, and we are true crimers, where we go back and we delve into old cases, new cases, and map, and if someone is missing, we can map those out of the forensic astrology chart. And it's kind of like mundane astrology, which is world events astrology, but it's its own little study. So welcome, everybody. I hope y'all are doing well. Hi, chat. How are you guys doing? Good, I hope, on another Wednesday fall evening, you guys. I think we're officially in fall. I think we are officially in fall. The leaves are starting to turn here, although they're turning late because it's been a hot a hot fall. It's finally getting chilly here, and our leaves are starting to turn, which is perfect. It's perfect. So, welcome, chat. How are you? We'll say a shout out to the chat, and we will get started. I got a really good show packed for you guys tonight. Hello, Miss Lois, Miss Lee, Miss Tammy is driving and listening. Be careful driving, Miss Tammy. Hello, Miss Lois. I'm good. How are you? How are you doing, Miss Lee? I'm doing good. Good for a Wednesday. For a Wednesday. I'm just kind of ready for Friday. I'm ready for Friday. It's been a long week. Hello, Miss Heidi. I'm at Wally World and stopped in to say hello. Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing out. Cold weather, yuck. Not cold weather. It's just a little chilly weather. I love it. I like fall. Hello, Mort. How are you? Hello, Miss Crystal. I'm not a cool weather fan, but I love the fall. We're in the 70s. So that's kind of cool for us. I mean, we were used to the hundreds. God, it was a hot summer though. I'm ready. I'm ready for fall. I'm ready for Halloween. I'm ready for everything. And then it'll be Christmas. I said it. Christmas. The nasty words of Christmas. I'm not ready. I usually have some presents bought by now. Haven't done that, so I need to get on the stick for that. I hope you guys are doing well. And like I said earlier, if you're just joining us, welcome. Please share and hit the like button, share out. And I use forensic astrology, which is an offset of mundane astrology, which is world events, but it's its own little niche. And the accuracy is just phenomenal with forensic astrology, as you will see tonight. So I started shopping. I have one gift already. I always have to buy my granddaughter stuff early because it sells out. She's already got the new Taylor Swift album. It's always Taylor Swift for Christmas. But she's already got the album. She texted me and said, Nan, I listened to the whole thing. That was day one, the first, when it came out. And she said, it's fabulous. It's fantastic. So my little Aries granddaughter has turned me into a Nana Swiftie. So, well, you guys, I hope everybody's doing well. Well. And the case tonight, I don't know if you guys remember this, but right around eclipse season, which was September 7th, September 21st, I know I say it. I repeat a lot. So I have watched this for a long time. After every eclipse season, an old cold case is solved. I have seen it. I don't know how many times. I need to keep track of it because after every eclipse, an old case is solved. And, with the technology with DNA, a lot of stuff with Uranus moving into Gemini, we're going to have a lot of technology breakthroughs. Lots and lots. Space stuff, flying cars. You watch. It's coming. So this particular case is from 1991. I remember this case. Like I said last week, a friend of mine really was kind of stuck on this case. And he was like, I can't, I need to find out who did it, blah, blah, blah. And he just couldn't let go of the case. And so what happened is, due to the technology and the breakthroughs with DNA and this genealogy DNA, that's what solved this case. And of course, you've got to always put in that it's just one of those things that law enforcement has to keep going. They never can stop on some of these cases. And that's what they did. Hello, Miss Rue. How are you? Hi, Kath. Welcome. Come on in, you guys. Welcome. I love seeing you guys every Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. So let's get started. How many of y'all remember this particular case in 1991? And it was called the Yogurt Shop. I don't think I can say that word, homicides. That starts with an M. So just to give you a brief explanation of the case, we have, let me get you a bigger picture up here because I have the chart and stuff. There we go. We had on this was solved on September 29th, by the way. They announced it. And the eclipse was September 21st. So, but they knew right in that week time frame that's when this was going to get solved. But and that was of this year. So back on December the 6th in 1991, there if you guys remember, there were yogurt shops that the first ones that ever really popped up. I can't believe it's yogurt. That's what they were called. And we had two girls were working, 17-year-old Eliza Thomas and Jennifer Harbison. Now, Jennifer's little sister, Sarah, at 15, and her little friend, Amy Ayers, stopped in. They closed at 11 p.m. and they came in while the girls were closing the shop. Now, a couple had left, but remembered a man had come in and used the restroom and left. That's all that was pretty much they could remember. Now, around midnight, law enforcement drove by and saw a fire. Okay. Well, first responders came in and found the girls. So here's a picture of the girls back then. This was, I remember that this was all over the news. Here's a picture of the yogurt shop. And see, I can't believe it's yogurt. They were the first yogurt shops that ever popped up. They were good too. They were good. And this was in Austin, Texas. Okay. Now, this is the layout of how they found the girls. Okay. So you have the three girls were in one area, but then Amy, who was the 13-year-old, was in a separate area. The girls had been shot, gagged, and tied up, and two of the girls had been assaulted. Amy had been assaulted as well. I don't want to say the word, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Now, here are pictures from the fire. Now, here's another picture of where Sarah, Eliza, and Jennifer were. Now, Jennifer and Sarah, can you believe that, were sisters? So we had a family that lost two girls, and Amy was in a separate area. Now, Amy did not have the burns and the issues that the other girls had, so there was DNA collected from Amy. They had not a lot, but they got DNA from Amy. So, of course, more than 3 decades went by after they were found, 4 teenage girls. And they processed hundreds of can you imagine the hours that the detectives worked? I'm going to get a bigger picture. Let me get this. The detectives worked. There we go. the detectives worked on this case, endless hours. So what happened is the police chief gave a press conference and called it the most devastating and haunting cases in the city's history. The only physical evidence recovered from the yogurt shop had matched to a man named Mr. Brashears, who had died in 1999, days after shooting himself during a standoff with the police in Missouri. He was 40 years old. So, I mean, this had gone on, but this is who they announced, a gentleman by the name of Brashers. My bad, Brashers. So the police had chased down thousands of leads, but for years, the investigation went nowhere. They had over 50 people confessed. So what had happened is these 4 people that you can see, they arrested these 4 who were teenagers at the time of the unalives. They had been previously questioned and released. However, 2 of them, Scott and Springsteen, no, my bad. Springsteen was one of them. I forget. I'll find out the other one. 2 of them were tried and convicted. But in 2007, an appeals court ordered new trials because prosecutors with no physical evidence introduced videotaped statements instead. So this went up on appeal. Fast forward ahead, their cases were dismissed in 2009 and they were released. They didn't do it. The DNA exonerated them. They didn't do this crime. So what happened is, in July of this year, DNA samples and ballistic casings that had been collected as evidence earlier in the investigation were resubmitted again. Okay? They were resubmitted again to a national database for genealogy and identifying weapons. So in July, a shell casing was traced to a weapon that had been used in an unsolved murder in Kentucky. That crime had similar details to the yogurt shop killings. The detective that was on the case began working with investigators nationwide. Investigators in South Carolina told him they had a profile match connected to a 1990 assault and homicide in Greenville. It was this particular gentleman, Mr. Brashers. So what happened is some of the material that was resubmitted for tests had been taken from a belt buckle, an ice cream scoop, and from Amy's fingernails. So Amy's final moments actually are what solved this case because she fought back. So they said they had no accomplice, but after all these years, the DNA finally, even though this particular monster was gone, he is the one that committed the unalives of these 4 darling girls. And this was just I remember this case so plain as day, plain as can be. So that's kind of the case in a nutshell. And it's like the family said, they never thought that they would live to see the fact that it got that it was solved. Whoops, sorry about that. Do any of you all remember this case? Rue, do you remember this? Oh, okay, Rue, I remember it. I remember this clearly. I'm really glad. I'm glad that glad that the families at least got some peace. I was kind of young, had a lot going on. actually a transit chart or two I'd like to look at in my life. Oh, jeez. I can't even remember last week, let alone 1991. Jeez. I can't remember, but I remember when this happened. So that's this particular case. There they are. We have Amy, Eliza, Jennifer, and Sarah. So that's solved for them. So let's take a look at the event chart. Now I used like 11:55 p.m. So this is an interesting chart. Check this chart out because it's very, very interesting. So I did look up because it was pretty interesting to me. I looked up a lot of the rulers. What is a ruler? It's a ruling planet. So, for example, the victims would be represented by the pink arrows. Okay, so that's Virgo. Virgo is in the first house. That's the victims. So we look at the ruling planet of Virgo, which is Mercury. It shows up in the fourth house. Okay, that's the victims. And I thought, well, that's unusual because it should be like Libra or Gemini. That shows maybe 2+ victims. But then I looked for the moon, the co-ruler, and I thought it was ironic that Mercury and the moon were conjunct. When we say conjunct, that means together. So I kind of took that as, okay, there's our multiple victims, the girls. As you can see in the fourth house by the other pink arrow, we have the moon and Mercury. But it kind of threw me for a loop because it's fourth house. Fourth house usually tells us that's the home. But so I kept looking. And then we're going to look for the perp, which would have been Brashers. So that's represented by Pisces, the blue arrow. Who is the ruler of Pisces? Neptune. Oh, look at that. Neptune in the fifth house. If you look up that the ruler of the seventh house, okay, if the ruler of the seventh house shows up in the fifth house, which it does, that can indicate an assault, an S assault. And we know that that did occur with Amy. So an S assault occurred. So I thought, okay, the chart, we're getting it. So I thought, okay, we've got some matches here. So then I looked at the fourth house ruler. Okay. It's in the first house, which is Jupiter, because Sag is the fourth house ruler. So if we look that up, if the 10th house ruler, if the fourth house ruler is in the first house, family members are involved. So sure enough, we had our two sisters are involved. So then I looked up the 10th house ruler, which is Mercury. 10th house ruler in the fourth house shows that this was in a public establishment. So see, if at first the chart doesn't seem to be jiving, we go into a deeper layer of the chart. So if the 10th house ruler, 10th house is Gemini. Who rules Gemini? Mercury. If the 10th house ruler is in the fourth house, it shows there's our public establishment. And look at all those planets that, of course, were in the public establishment. It was the yogurt shop. It's also in Sag. Sag is a fire sign. That indicates there was a fire. So it all came together. So then we've got the ruler of the 7th house in the 5th house, like I said, indicates an assault. So even though the chart at first kind of threw me for a loop, when I dug deeper and I looked up everything in Caroline Lully. It's Caroline Lully book. It tells the entire story of what happened to the girls. And of course, we've got Mars in there, which is the pow pow. Mars would be that. That's the violence. And Saturn is off by itself, which could be the remains. But then we do have the fire with Sag, the family comparison with the 1st house when I looked that up. So, if at first when you look at a chart and it doesn't seem to be, jiving, it does. You have to go and look a little deeper. So that's what I did. And I use Caroline's book, of course. I use Kirsty's book all the time. And those are and the rulership book. So there are 3 main books in forensic astrology that you utilize. You really look up everything. But of course, with Kirsty's program, it's always the victim is the ascendant, 1st house. Moon is always the co-ruler. Now, if we have a child, a little toddler or a little baby, it's just the moon. The babies and little ones are ruled by the moon. Children can also be represented by Mercury. But I think the Mercury and moon together are the victims. So that's kind of like the universe giving us 4 victims. So that is that chart. So does anybody have any questions? Rue, do you or Crystal, Lois, anybody else, any of our astrologers in the chat see anything else that they want to bring up? I think it's very interesting when you, like I said, when you go into the next layer of the chart and it doesn't speak out to you right away, you keep digging deeper and deeper and you'll get your information. Kind of like what happened with the case, and DNA would be represented, I imagine, with Neptune. And I'll have to look up DNA. But I would imagine Neptune is DNA. And I could have also looked up belt buckle. The chart is beyond spot on when I took the time to look things up. Do you always look to those houses basically? No, you look to the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, the angular houses. You always do the angular houses. The 1st always represents the victim. The 1st house tells us what the victim is doing. So, for example, another thing in this chart is look at the sun that's so close to the victims. That's an older man. It can also indicate when the sun is close to the victim, immediate danger, imminent danger, immediate. So it's kind of an odd forensic chart to have everything in there. But like I said, public establishment, when the ruler, which was Mercury, showed up in the 4th, and there they all are together, and it shows the fire. They're spot on. And then the 7th house, Lois, is always the perp. The 7th house tells us what the perp has been up to. Usually the 4th house is the home. But this particular case, I knew the home didn't have anything to do with it, so I had to keep digging. I do dig. I do dig. My Neptune is in Scorpio in the 8th house. So that's where I get that 4th and the 10th. Yeah. Now, the 10th house in forensic astrology usually tells us what the public is thinking. What the public is thinking. So that's on there too. What's going on with the public? What law enforcement's doing? Usually in the 10th house, if there's a lot of planets in there, they're out in the open. 9th house, out in the woods. You just got it all kind of tells like a story, doesn't it, Rue? It's like putting pieces of a puzzle together. But this one was so spot on. I mean, it's just so spot on. But again, you dig. It's like anything in true crime, you continue to dig. And like I we've always said, Rue and I, and the hardest part of doing a crime chart is finding the time stamp, because if we don't have an accurate time, the chart's not accurate. So that's that one. And for my friends, that's our yogurt shop chart. I thought it was interesting. I would really be interested to see if there is, and I would have to compare some charts with a serial perp, a serial type perp, like look at Jack the Ripper, look at some, Bundy, and look at their charts and see if there's anything common with them. I don't know. I know a lot of them are Virgos. Wouldn't Venus or the second house represent the belt buckle, since it's a personal possession? I don't know. I would have to look up in the rulership book. I know a purse is Venus, but I don't know about a belt buckle. Second house, don't know. I don't think so. I think the second house doesn't hold a whole lot of weight unless it's a money situation. But it could be Venus in the second house, Crystal. It very well could be. Like you say, it's a personal possession. So I would have to look in the rulership book, because I don't know what a belt buckle is. It's usually two. Some with a belt buckle, I don't know what it would be. Yeah, timestamps are the most important thing to get. If you don't have the timestamp, it's not accurate. So now the next chart I have for you guys is, and I know I've been promising my Canadian friends for this. I know Cindy had a client tonight, and she would listen later. So hello, Miss Cindy, later. And Denise is always listening. So hi, Denise. I hope you're out there. But my friends in Canada, this Alberta, which is like a state for us, has been trending all week. And I thought, oh, that's crazy. Look at all this stuff trending. So I thought, I'm going to pull up Alberta's chart and see what is going on with Alberta and Canada. Now, this is not so much as forensic as it is mundane astrology. So we're kind of using it's kind of the same hat, but it's not. So in mundane astrology, like if this were the United States, this is Alberta. It is a Scorpio rising. You can see the green. And so I looked at the mundane astrology, okay? Because we have a lot of outer planets moving this year, I marked where they are. So for example, the lightning rod see the little pink lightning rod in the 4th house? That is where Pluto is transiting, in the 4th house, which is the homeland. The homeland. They're talking, they want to be their own little country, right? So then I looked even further, and the green sun is where, that's Aries. So the green sun is where Neptune, Saturn, the great conjunction will occur. That's the people, the workers. So they're upset because they produce all this gas and they feel like they're not getting their money. They feel that they're just giving all their money away. So here we go with the great conjunction in the 6th house with workers, the day-to-day occurrences, the people. So we've got the homeland, it's got Pluto transiting, and then the heart is going to be Uranus is going up there in the 8th house. Taxes, other people's money. It's how they make their money. It's trade. Uranus is going to be going into that house right now. It's in there. Okay. So up at the top of the chart, I put the big smiley face in pink is Jupiter is going to be transiting, and all the eclipses for Alberta's chart next year are going to be in the 10th house, which is the leader of the country. Their north node is in Leo. Okay. It's going to be opposing Pluto. So that is very, very interesting to me. Moon, that's the people. So we're going to have Neptune, Saturn opposing their moon. The moon represents the people of the country in the 12th house. That's a lot, quite a lot of activity going on for our little friend Alberta in Canada. It's a lot of activity that speaks volumes. Do I think, there's going to be some changes, a lot. And we also have in Canada's chart, hi, Miss Cindy. How are you, hon? I'm doing Alberta for you guys. Now, remember, Canada's chart as a whole, we have Aries as the rising. So do I think Alberta may become its own little country? Yes. From this chart, I do. I think it's because, number one, we've got Jupiter moving into the leader, the president, a new prime minister or head of the country. And the reason I say that, because all of these eclipses are going to be occurring in that house, which is change for the next couple of years. And also, Neptune represents gas and gasoline and all the minerals and things that come out of the earth and all that stuff that they have. Like, it's second, I found out, I didn't know this. Alberta is second behind Saudi Arabia for gasoline. So this is a very wealthy little country. Providence or province. So that's the 9th house, right? So we've got Neptune up there. So we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, it's a very positive chart, but there's a lot of changes. Now, what's interesting about this, Cindy, is Saskatchewan has the same chart because they became states at the same time. So where Alberta goes, Saskatchewan is going to go. I thought that was very interesting. So I think what I'm going to do is put the two charts together. And I saw pictures of Alberta. It's absolutely beautiful. It's just a lovely place. So I think I would treat them very kindly. If I were the Prime Minister of Canada right now, I would be treating them very, very well. I would be very nice to them. I would say anything you want. So I think they feel a little neglected, maybe. but it's trending. So I think it's very interesting. We're going to have to really keep an eye on this in February of 2026. Now, if you look at on a political standpoint, we've got Saturn on one side. Is Neptune is like the left. That would be considered the left party. Neptune. Saturn is the right, and they are together, but now they're separating. But the great conjunction will be February 26, 2026. So don't be surprised. It's very interesting. But what I'll do this weekend, let's do a synastry chart with Canada, and we'll put them together and see what they look like, and see if they can iron things out. But maybe they can have some diplomacy. We'll see. But I thought it was pretty interesting on where those transiting planets. So you can see why it's stirring up everything. The people want, that eighth house, other people's money. We want our money. They want their money. I get it. I would want my money too. So we've got Mars will be opposing Uranus. And it's conjunct on Jupiter, which is very, very lucky. Interesting. Very interesting. So it's going to be interesting if you see the purple lines. Those are your oppositions. So there's a little bit of tension coming up. So that's about it for this week, you guys. But does anybody have anything else to say? Any other issues? Anything important? See, this is what was trending. Independence secures our future. And there's the pipeline thing, or the gas, the oil thing. That's the oil. Neptune is oil, not gas, I guess. I think it's very interesting, Cindy. We're going to have to watch it. So you guys, those are our two charts for this week. I hope you all have a great week ahead. So anybody else have anything they want to add into the chat? Now, I also wanted to let's see. I saw Keith pop in here. Hi, Keith. How are you, hon? Here's Keith. Hey, all. I hope you're feeling well, hon. Does anybody have any questions or any other thoughts, you guys? But that was the show this week. It's been a long week. I'm kind of glad this week is almost over. So those are our two cases this week. Everything was interesting, but there's still info missing, I feel. On which case, Kath? On the yogurt shop murders? Ooh, I shouldn't. The homicides. Well, they met? This is what I found out this week, or what came across social media. And it's hard to trust social media, but I kind of, when I was looking at the information, that people did come down, a delegation came down and met at the White House from Alberta. And that was about it. They didn't say much. They said something that the U.S. would acknowledge them as their own state. But then again, the prime minister, your prime minister, came down this week as well. Prime Minister Carney was here. So they had a good meeting. So maybe they're getting along, and so we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I think it's going to be up to him to reel him back in. I sure would. Just got home, listened to everything. It was a great show. Thanks, Tam. Kathy, if you think info missing from the yogurt shop, more than likely. I think they just pulled up with what they really could do. And there was a federal law passed in I think 2021 or 23, that if you have a cold case and it's over 3 years old, you can petition the federal government to open that up and to use the new technology and have them look at a cold case. And I think that's a wonderful law to have passed that you can petition the feds to take a look at a cold case. So I'll post it. I'll look up the law next week and post it, because I think that's something that would be good information. If it's 3 years old, because the technology is changing so much. I saw with the PM. Yeah, that was this week. So I know. Isn't that a wonderful, wonderful law to have passed? I'll get the name of it, but it's just 3 years old. And, maybe if you petition the feds, if you do have a cold case, that will get your local officials working on it, because they're not going to want the feds to come in and start snooping around with DNA and testing. Maybe it'll get them moving on a case, because when a case goes cold, they have a tendency to not do anymore. Some do, like they did with this case, and we do see good law enforcement that does do that. And then we did see Diddy was 5 years. He was given 5 years, but after time served and blah 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 blah, it looks like he'll probably do about a year and a half. So that was this week as well on true crime. But that was about it for true crime. So it was pretty slow week for true crime, which that's okay too. Well, you guys, I think that's about it for this week. So have a super week, you guys. We'll have another case next week, or at least 2 for Miss Tammy, because Miss Tammy likes to see at least 2. I got to have 2 for Tammy. So you guys have a great week. Enjoy the week. Enjoy the fall. And I think that's about it. Thank you so much for tuning in. But I appreciate it, you guys. I appreciate you all. And I love it that you guys enjoyed the show. So have a good one. And I will see you guys next week. Have a great week and a weekend. Thank you.